All right. So our question for this discussion is, what do you think are the top three influences on children and teenagers? Where would you place the influence of family in terms of those top influences and why? And so um, we all have kind of similar answers, but they're all unique because we have different experiences. And so what I thought of was family, mainly parents, as being the major influence, number one, the major influence in a child or teenager's life. Um, because many students, children these days, even if their parents aren't present in their lives, that is tremendously influencing them. So whether they are present or absent from their lives, that influences them because God designed the parents to. It's the way that God brings the child into this world, and that's where they learn from. That's where they're nurtured. That's where they're designed to be raised from. And so I think parents. I think that is the number one. Number two, I would say peers. The peers that we hang out with. I know in my own life, growing up, I was taught, be wise in the friends that you choose, and how great of a deal that is in our lives when it affects our behavior, our attitudes, what we desire, what we passion to do. Um, and it also goes back to the values that we have that we learn from our parents. So it carries down to us and the friends that we choose. And then thirdly, I would say kind of overall is the culture that we are in. And so that may be going, if we go to public school, um, 5 days a week, every week, that's going to influence us, the culture that we are in. Other people, whether they're our friends or not, that influences us. And we see that so much in high schools and middle schools and elementary school. And so there's a huge influence on us. And I think the number one, I believe, would be the parents. And so that's why we stress, that's why we're here, is so that in the church is that we can equip our parents to disciple their kids. So many times we're having to encourage our parents, like in my own life, being a young youth minister, my first year, I'm having to encourage the parents to bring their kids to church. That's a hard thing to do. And so even when they become teenagers, we can think of it, yes, the parents seem to have less of an influence because the teenagers are at that age where they don't desire to be around their parents as much. They want to be around their peers or in the culture. So I think just the way that they are raised over time, and we could talk about time a lot. And so those are my three. So yeah.
Right. So next one.
I can go. I'm Garrett, and my three were family, friends, and media. First, with family, we talked about just how much time that person's going to be spending with their family and how that kind of sets the standard of how they view faith, how they interact with each other. If they're getting a lot of affirmation at home, that can affect them, influence them. Or if they're getting, the other way, if there's a lot of negativity in the house, that can also have a big influence. And so I think even if in youth ministry context, you can have a kid that goes to camp and has a great experience and is on fire for Christ. But if he's going back home to a family that doesn't really value the church or Christianity, then it's going to be an uphill battle for them to fight through that sphere of influence. And then with friends, just the same, the peer pressures that kids face growing up, that's a big influence on how they interact with each other, how they view the world, what values they have, how they get what they care about, really, what excites them. And then with my third was media, and that could come on like with Netflix. If they're watching 3 seasons of a show, then there could be some influences on how to live, and especially if it's a show that's relevant to their age, like showing high school life or showing different life contexts, then that's where the student could be influenced by the media and by, if they watch YouTube personalities or TikTok personalities, they can be picking up on small things that they might not know, but really can change their worldview or influence that. And so those were my three.
Thank you. Okay, next one.
I can go there. Yeah, so I think my three that we discussed about was family, friends, and basically anywhere there where the student or child or teenager spends the most time. So like whether it's school or work or you know, wherever it may be. But overall, I would definitely say that family is number one, just because at the end of the day, the kids are going to come back home and they're going to be around these people majority of their lifetime on weekends, weekdays, you know, every single day of the week. They come home to relax, and who's going to be around them it's their family. Also because when you look at kids, you seem to see that they're very similar to their parents. Like, for example, in my life, I'm very similar to my dad. I'm very similar in the way we think, how stubborn we are, you know, other things like we pick up habits from our parents like that. And then other reasons why is our family is also because I guess we look up to our siblings. Like, let's say you have an older sibling, older brother, an older sister. Right from the beginning, from you're younger, you're always like, yeah, I want to be like my older brother, or I want to be like my older sister, or I want to be a good older brother. I want to be a good younger sister. So these things definitely influence the people. With their friends, well, it's kind of like what Zach was saying and Gary was saying, is like you are influenced by the people who you hang out with. You know, you have good company. A lot of times you'll have good attributes, good characters. You surround yourself with bad company, then you'll find that you might end up having bad character and things like that and doing things. With the whoever spends the most time with that aspect is just like you see people and you want to be like them. It's similar to like that family idea where you will look at, you want to fit in, and a lot of people don't want to be the one that sticks out, and so they'll do things as that the crowd will do, and so whoever they spend the most time with, they'll kind of adjust themselves to wherever they are, and similar to the people that are there around. But yeah, those are my three.
Did you answer the second question?
Yeah, why? Yeah, the
Oh,
family
yeah.
first.
Yeah, that's right. Different order. Cool. Jay.
For me, my number one was family. It's kind of like everyone else said, was you spend the most time with your family, you're around your family the most. They have the biggest impact in your life. For me, a close second was media. I know that kids nowadays are consuming a lot of media, probably more than ever. And I talked about one thing was there may be days or weeks where a teenager could spend more time on their phone or consuming media than they see their parents, whether it's just because they're busy or their parents are busy, you know, whatever the case. There could be a time where they're spending more time consuming media than with their family. And then third was friends. You know, other than your parents, you're going to see your friends at school or sports teams or whatever that is. You're going to see them quite a bit, and so they're obviously going to influence you a lot. And then we brought up one statistic where I think it's around age 12, 13, the child kind of stops depending on the adult as much. Family members, it's kind of doing their own thing and just becoming a teenager. And so one thing we brought up was is there a way for us to kind of stop the media addiction before then? That way, as they get older, they're not so over consumed with media and kind of more involved with their family. But yeah, I think for the same question, influence of family, you know, I think kind of all answered it. That's the person you see the most. Those are the two people that are most influential, and hopefully they're not afraid to speak the truth and speak what you need to hear to you. And so I think for that reason, they're going to be the biggest influence.
Very good. So the first question, the top 3 influence on children and teenagers. So the top one, I also chose parents and or guardians. For me, because I had 3 families before, and I found no matter in any family, the guardians, for their opinions, they always influence me, and their opinion matters my daily decision making, even as if I'm not living with them. And the second one I chose, adaptation of the bigger environment. Maybe it's the culture you are living, or the church you go often, or the school you attend. I found this taught me how to behave with others. So for example, like how you might how the teenagers behave with different race or different gender, or older people or younger people. I think it's in the social environment which teach them about this. And the third one I put is a experience with who you treasure most. Maybe it's a faith leader or friends or media. And I think this, since you treasure them so much and you agree with them, and the philosophy or beliefs they have gradually also transform into your own beliefs. So for the second question about the influence of family and why, and all of us chose the influence of family as the top one, and the reason I put is here. So family is a basic unit where you expect to belong to, where you expect to trust and rely on, and able to share the deepest thoughts of your heart. In other words, this should be the place where building up the sense of security, significance, and acceptance. However, sometimes maybe the family has not managed to play a good role model to impact the young person's life. Yes, in a way that maybe the young people will go to somewhere else, maybe games, media, or friends, or even drugs, some place for seeking for the security, significance, and acceptance. But at the same time, I believe the missing role of family will still create a huge impact on the young person's life, but as a negative influence. So in most cases, the role of family will impact on a person to either go through a healthy direction or an unhealthy direction, and it could hugely impact their views of God as well. Okay, that's all our summary for discussion today.